I've never found a love like this. There it is. I've never found a love like this.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to E20 Zone TV. It's Friday afternoon. The weekend is fast upon us, and that means West Ham are fast upon us to disappoint us or bring us great joy. To my right is Tommy. Tommy, how are you doing?
Good, mate. Thanks. Yeah, just enjoying. I'm off work today and tomorrow, so and then a long shift on Sunday, so I'm not even going to get to watch the game. I think I'm going to have my phone with me and have my no TV on the screen in front of me, so I can keep an eye on what's going on. But
Yeah, I know.
yeah, other than that, I'm good. Yeah, enjoying a couple of rest days.
Big game, Tommy. There's no question about this one. This one is massive. You've done the previews with me. We spoke about Everton before. We spoke about Nottingham Forest before as being huge games, but this one's probably going to be the biggest game of all. What are you expecting on Sunday from West Ham?
It's hard to say. I mean, probably quite cagey. We don't tend to kind of start very fast and get on the front foot really early and score early goals. The dream start obviously would be, start really fast, overwhelm them early on, knock in a goal or two and really put ourselves on the front foot. But we just don't do that. And we have, I think, more often than not as well, come back from international breaks a bit flat. So I'm a bit worried about that as well. So I think this will be one of those kind of cagey games. I think a point for Southampton away at West Ham is an okay result. But for us, I mean, it's absolutely 3 points are vital, absolutely vital. A draw is no good to us in this game. Our away form is really, really poor, and we have to expect that we're not going to get very many points on the road between now and the end of the season. So every home game now, regardless of who we're playing, are becoming kind of almost must-win games. What I'm expecting is quite a cagey affair. And to be honest, I think it's a difficult one to call because, while Southampton are bottom of the table, they're not Norwich bottom of the table. You know what I mean?
I agree on that.
They're not like completely set adrift and look terrible and don't look like winning any games. They're fighting and they're right in the mix. I mean, one win could lift them right out of the relegation zone. So I think it's going to be a tight, cagey affair, if I'm honest. I think there'll be very little in it when the final whistle blows.
It's an hard one for me. It really is. I look at us and I think people are thinking that we're already down and out. And listen, if you're a West Ham fan, we're always down there, but we're never out until the last whistle, basically. On Sunday, I do expect West Ham to come out all guns blazing. Obviously, I've just seen the injury concerns, and I will get onto them shortly, that Moyes has come out with. It's been a mad couple of weeks at West Ham. That's one thing I will say. There's in-house rest. There's people not happy. It's just mayhem at the minute. It just needs to be calmed down. I think this week is perfect for West Ham. West Ham can go to play Southampton on Sunday, get a win. Newcastle in the midweek is a free hit, and then the Fulham game, I believe, personally, I don't know about you, but I believe we can beat Fulham. With no Mitrovic in that team and their manager not there on the sidelines, I think we can do some damage there against Fulham away. How do you sort of perceive the week ahead, though, Tommy, for you?
Yeah, I mean, what you just said, I mean, I don't disagree with any of it. But obviously, you have to say there is a difference between winnable and going and actually winning it.
I think so.
Southampton will probably see away at West Ham as a potentially winnable game. Fulham at home to West Ham, they'll see that as a potentially winnable game. So it's okay for us to say, these certain games are more winnable than others, but this season we haven't won too many. So it's one thing to have winnable games; it's another thing to go out and perform and win those games. Like I say, I know Fulham are without Mitrovic, and I think Willian is going to play, though. I think there was false reports that he was out, but he's going to play. So it's really just Mitrovic, and I know Silva, the manager, is got a touchline ban, but we have to be very careful about this. This is winnable, because I think we have to approach every game now with the same mindset, is that we have to go out and really go for it and try and get the 3 points, because it's a bit dangerous to start picking and choosing which games you feel like you can go and get 3 points from, because if it goes tits up on Sunday, all of a sudden then the Newcastle game takes on a whole new look.
Yeah.
And that becomes a much more difficult game to win, and becomes, again, as another home game back to back. It heaps the pressure on massively. So very, very important that we turn this winnable game on Sunday into a game that we do win and take the 3 points from. So I always worry a bit, when people say, yeah, we beat Southampton and maybe we can get a point against Newcastle, and then I think we can go, without Mitrovic, we can go and beat Fulham. Ain't that easy in the Premier League, and you have to say our performances still are not particularly great. We played okay against Villa at home, but again, it was a game that we failed to win. Another home game we didn't get the maximum points from. So I just think we have to be very, very careful. The next kind of few games could go very well, but equally they could go very badly.
What is the points tally that you expect after the next 3 games? For me personally, I think 6 points is a minimum. Really, I think if we get anything less than 6, I think it's not good enough. Anything more is great. I think 5 points. If someone said to me right now, you win against Southampton, you draw the next 2, I don't think that's good enough. I really don't. I just think there's opportunities there. I'm not expecting West Ham to beat Newcastle at home, because they're a team that just seem to do us always at home. Right? I can't remember the last time we actually beat Newcastle at the LS. Right? I look at the Fulham game as a prime game. I really do. We don't mind playing Fulham at Fulham. They're going to come forward, and we could play counter-attacking style play against them. And let's be honest, we've got a better team than Fulham. So, how many points do you reckon in the next 3 for you, Tommy?
Obviously, very difficult to call, but I do suspect we'll beat Southampton.
Yeah.
The Newcastle game midweek is going to be very tough. They've improved since we drew with them up at St James's Park a few weeks ago. They were in a little bit of a slump back then, but they seem to have picked it up a bit again now. I'm going to say 4. I think 4 points from the next 3 games. I'm not particularly optimistic. I can only go by what we've seen this season, James.
Yeah.
We just don't go on winning runs. We haven't done it all season. We're picking up a win here and there, a draw here and there. So I think maybe 4 points, unfortunately, and I think the point will come away at Fulham, and the home win at Southampton. I think Newcastle will probably beat us. They're really fighting as well. They've got things to play for, and their form has really improved. Eddie Howe's a better manager than Moyes. The team is just set up much better. They're really going great this season. Newcastle, they're full of confidence, and so I think they'll turn us over. I think they'll come and do us at our place. Moyes will blame the 3-day turnaround, obviously, but
100%.
and then at the weekend we go to Fulham, and I just don't think with 3 games in a week, especially with David Moyes' mindset when it comes to playing 3 times in a week, I just don't see us picking up a lot of points. I think he's quite negative, Moyes, in his approach to busy schedules, and we've got a bloody busy schedule coming up. Plus we have European games, so it doesn't augur well for us unless there's some kind of major turnaround in form.
I actually agree with you, mate. I really do. I'm trying to be a bit more optimistic, but I understand what you're saying, and I can't not disagree with you. Like, we haven't seen nothing like this year. Like, the only thing I will say is that West Ham did grind out a few points against Chelsea and against, who's the other team, Newcastle away, and then we got a win against Everton, I think it was. So I'm not expecting it to be pretty, but this week or the next 10 days will decide it for me where we're heading. If we can get out of this trouble in the next sort of 2 games, and say for argument's sake we beat Southampton and we get a positive result against Newcastle, things look up rather than down. You know what I'm saying?
But a lot depends as well on other results, So we don't know what the other results are going to be. You get surprises in the Premier League all the time. So, if we could get 4 points, in the next 2 games, that really should lift us out of the relegation zone, albeit not far outside of it, but at least we'll be out of it.
Will Moyes be sacked with a defeat, Tommy? Like, obviously, it came out the other day that whatever happens this season, Moyes is going to be let go at the end of the season. Could he get sacked if the Southampton game goes bad on Sunday?
I don't think he will. No, I think he'll maintain his position. I just don't think. How can you do it now? I mean, it would be. It's one thing to say, look, we're going to stick with him to the end of the season, then do it. It's another thing to say we're going to stick with him till the end of the season and then sack him after this game, right when we're coming into a really, really busy schedule of games. We've got games coming every few days. We get no break. We're virtually going to be going kind of, I think it goes like Sunday, Wednesday. Is it like
Thursday? It's 9 games in 20,
Saturday,
27
Thursday,
days.
Sunday, Thursday, Sunday.
Yeah.
You know, we've got games coming thick and fast. I mean, I think we're at the point now where you may as well just stick with him by hook or by crook, because, I mean, the only thing you could do, really, you couldn't get a manager in from outside. I mean, the only way you could do it would be to give temporary charge till the end of the season to someone who's already at the club, say a Kevin Nolan or Warburton, whoever it's going to be. That's the only way you could sack him. And it would really be just a ridiculous thing for Sullivan to put us in that kind of a position. I mean, you know, you had plenty of good opportunity to sack him and make the change.
Especially after the last 2 weeks. Like, you had 2 weeks to do it.
Especially when you don't have a game for 3 weeks. You know, so to do it in the middle of a crazy schedule, like, would be kind of just, it would be just typical GSB crap, wouldn't it, really? Just complete incompetence. But no, I don't think they will. I think even if Southampton beat us and we end up bottom of the table, I think they'll still stay with him. I really do.
I actually agree, mate. I actually agree. Don't get me wrong. I say it quite openly. I don't want Moyes here like you do. Right, you don't want Moyes here. But the problem is, we've lived it for so long, we're between a rock and a hard place at the minute, and we just don't know which way is the best move to do. I totally agree with what you just said. It's the busiest month, April. We've got 9 games in the whole month. And we are going to go and sack the manager now and then bring someone in. We'd need that manager to be literally ready to go straight away. And like, it might work, but then it could fail. So, you know, I totally agree, mate. I really do. It's a dangerous game West Ham are playing at the minute. There's only one man I really blame on that. I don't really blame Moyes for the situation at West Ham. I blame Sullivan, because Sullivan's allowed this to go on for a long, long time. I say it quite openly, and Sullivan should have pulled the trigger 4 months ago, at the end of the day. So,
yeah,
you know,
it's a very strange one. I mean, especially given the reports we're hearing now coming out from the training ground, let's say.
Yeah, it's unreal, mate. Let's go to this, Tommy. Injury concerns. Skamaka, Emerson and Aguerd. It come out earlier on that Moyes done an interview, and Skamaka, Emerson and Aguerd have got niggly knocks. Like, once we think we got our full strength team, and then now we've got niggly knocks. But is this a little bit of mind games from Moyes to say that some of these players might not be ready for Sunday, and then on Sunday afternoon we see them in the starting lineup?
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Look, lots of players come back from, you know, international duty with a little niggling knock. Like, you know, they'll be fine. I think Aguerd and Emerson will start the game, and Skamaka will be on the bench. I think it's a little bit of smoke and mirrors. I actually don't believe any of them are injured to the point where they need to be, where they need medical treatment and can't play. You know, the physios will be looking after them this week since they've gotten back from international duty. The physios will be working on them, and I'm sure all 3 will be available on Sunday, I expect.
Yeah, so do I, mate. So do I. To make this short and sweet before we come to the sort of starting lineups and things like that, we need them all to be fit. Like, I need them to be like blood, sweat, tears. If they've got to go through a bit of pain, then so be it, because we're going through pain as West Ham fans at the minute, watching West Ham play. So I expect the players to sort of turn up, and if they have to do 10 minutes, 15 minutes, then so be it. Well, one thing I'm going to say is West Ham need to be united and not divided. At the minute, it's very divided fan base at the minute. Some people are on the mindset that they want Moyes out of this club no matter what, and I understand it. But my mindset is right now is we chuck him out the door, great. Who are we going to bring in who can sort of galvanise this team right now? And is it going to be the right person to do it? That's the $1 million question. It's like, if you'd said to me this 2 months ago, I would have been, get him out now. Right? But now I'm like, what do we do for the best? So hopefully it's all smoke and mirrors with that. Tommy, let's come to you starting 11 for the game. Obviously, if them players are fit, West Ham do have quite a fully fit squad from what I've been looking at.
Yeah.
What is the best 11 to beat Southampton on Sunday for you?
I think I'll stick with Areola in goal. I know Fabianski's got the mask off in his training and all that, but I'll stick with Areola. Right back, I'd bring Soufal back in. You know, he obviously played last week, so Moyes can't make the excuse that he's not fit enough to play. He clearly is.
Yeah.
So him at right back. I think Aguerd and Zuma in the centre with Emerson on the left.
Is that our best defence for you, Tommy? Like them 4 defenders?
Yeah, I think with everyone fit, you know, I think that's the best 4 that we have available at the moment. I've been really impressed with Emerson at left back.
So
like I say, there were some question marks about whether he was good enough defensively to do that, but he's shown that he absolutely is. You know, he's been playing really well there, so there's no question he's better than Cresswell. Obviously, he's better than Hutton Johnson over there. So yeah, there's no doubt Emerson is the best option we have at the moment. I know it's not a great bunch to pick from, but he's been playing really well. So yeah. On the other side, then Soufal. Again, I think best of a bad bunch, to be honest. I mean, Soufal, you know, he's an okay player, but I still think we need better quality on that side going into next season. But Soufal is the best we've got there at the moment. So definitely, and obviously Aguerd and Zuma kind of pick themselves, don't they, when they're fit, really.
Yeah, I agree. Midfield, Tommy.
Yeah, midfield. I suppose Rice and Paqueta go without saying. But I would change it up for the Southampton game. We're at home. We're playing Southampton. Southampton like to play a bit of football. It's not going to be too much of a physical battle in there. So I'd like to get a baller in there, and I'd put Lanzini in that 3. I really would. I think Lanzini's looked really good. He's looked sharp. Albeit in Europe, I know the opposition haven't been brilliant. But he has looked really sharp to me. He's a player with an eye for a pass. He can transition the ball from back to front, keep possession. Really tidy player, Lanzini. Looks like he's in good form as well from what we've seen from him. I'd love to get Lanzini in there. You know, he'll help us maintain possession. Clever passer, can do the 1-2s, good movement. I'd love to see Lanzini in there in the middle. I don't think we need Rice, Paqueta, and Soucek in the field.
Yeah, but I'm surprised you say Lanzini, because I would go with Fornells in there myself.
Yeah, you could do that just as easily. Like I say, you could flip a coin for me. If it's Lanzini or Fornells, either one of them, I'm happy, as long as it's not bloody Soucek, to be honest. And I wouldn't go with Downs, because I think it might be too defensive then. Unless you want to put Downs in and allow Rice and Paqueta a bit more freedom to get forward and have Downs sitting, you could do that too. That's definitely an option. But I just like the way Lanzini's been playing. I thought in his last game, Lanzini looked really good to me. He looked really sharp. So I just feel like Lanzini at the moment is just at it. You know what I mean? So I'd like to give him a chance in this game just to kind of help us get across the line. And I think he could do some good stuff for us on Sunday.
I'm not opposing that. Don't get me wrong. I agree. Like Lanzini or Fornells for me personally, I'd go with Fornells. He likes to score a goal against Southampton. He scored a goal against Southampton 2 years ago in a 3-0 win. And I just think we need someone who's going to be like a dog with a bone, like running around, get stuck in, nick the ball, and get the ball to Paqueta. I want to see Paqueta be a bit further forward, so he's a bit more advanced instead of being so deep, so to speak. Downs is a possibility, but then Lanzini in there. The only thing with Lanzini is defensively, is he good enough? That is the only problem. Like, he loves a tackle, but he loves to get a card. So if Lanzini's in there, you know he's going to get booked. So yeah. Strikers, who's your 3, Tommy?
Well, obviously Benny and Bowen, left and right. Personally, I'd have them either side of Scamacca. I still think Scamacca's our best striker, and he's up there finishing as well. Obviously, Danny Ings is an excellent finisher, but he's an excellent finisher right in front of goal.
Yeah.
in and around the kind of penalty area really. So I'd have Scamacca. He has greater options for us. He can get on the end of a cross with his height. He can also score from range. We've seen him bang them in from 20, 25 yards. I still think he's the best striker we've got at the club. And as long as he's got the support there of, Benny and Bowen, and with Lanzini pushing forward as well, maybe Paqueta getting into those kind of advanced positions at times as well. I think we should be able to supply him with some ammunition and like I say, whether it's a cross that he puts in with his head or shoots with his foot from close distance or range. I just think he's a better all-round option than Danny Ings. Albeit, we can still use the Danny Ings off the bench to inevitably score against his old club,
Yeah.
So I'd go with Scamacca. For me, he's still the best striker at the club and should be playing week in, week out.
Tricky one, this one for me. It really is. Obviously, I'm going to go with Bowen and Benny. I think they speak for themselves. Then you've got three strikers there. You've got Danny Ings, Antonio, and Scamacca. The problem is, it's a lot of pressure to put on Scamacca to come into this game and try and win us this game. Like, I think, for me, I agree. Scamacca is the better striker out of all three of them, in my opinion. And I think everyone would probably agree on that. But Antonio, is he what we need in this game? Is he need a bit of fight or a bit of drive or something like? Do you know what I'm saying? I just don't know. Like, the striker one is a major problem for me because Danny Ings, I looked at him against Brighton. I thought he was awful. I looked at him against Villa. He was non-existent again. I think this is not the game for him against his former club. I know he might have a point to prove, but so it is a toss of a coin between Scamacca and Antonio for me. I probably would go with Scamacca just. But
yeah, I know what you mean about Antonio, what he can bring to this game, but I just don't fancy him ever to score, and that's the difference.
And that is the problem. And that is the problem. Like, if we fancied him to score, I think he would be in. I would probably just go with Scamacca because we need our best team and best players, and he is one of our best strikers. So, I would probably agree with you on that. But whatever team he puts out, obviously the subs are going to come into play. Like, obviously Maxwell Cornet has to get on this pitch at some point and do some damage from wide. Like, he needs to get on the pitch.
Yeah.
If Antonio is a substitute, he needs to come on and be an influence, or Danny Ings. I do think the left back and right back positions are going to be massive in this game. I think if Cathal plays, then we get the best out of Jared Bowen. I believe. I think if anyone else plays right back, then Bowen's got to keep tracking back a bit more than he has to. Do you know what I mean? He shouldn't have to do that. So it's going to be interesting to see what team he goes with. Hopefully it's a winning team. But let's come to it, Tommy. Predictions. What are you predicting for this game on Sunday, mate?
Like I said, I think it'll be tight and tense. I don't think there'll be too many goals in this one. I don't think it's going to be a thriller or anything. Both teams a lot to lose, massive 6-pointer, and a win for either side would just be huge. I think we'll have just enough.
Yeah.
I don't say it with massive confidence, but I think the fact that we're at home, the players know that this is must win, and they're going to have to get after it. So I'm going to say that we'll win it narrowly by 2-1.
What am I predicting for this game? I called it last night. Yeah, I think there's goals in this game. I think West Ham will turn up in this game. Yeah, I do. Every time we play Southampton, there's goals. Right, last season we lost 3-2 on Boxing Day, I think it was, and Broja just done a job on us. He really did. But previous to that, West Ham just love a 3-0 win against Southampton at home. It just seems like the game always ends in a 3-0 scoreline of some sort. I expect West Ham to turn up in this game. I expect the fans to turn up on Sunday. I expect the team to turn up on Sunday. All get together and really have a good go. I could see another sort of Nottingham Forest game coming. I know Southampton have been good, don't get me wrong, but I just feel West Ham have got the better quality of players. And I said last night 3-1, and I'm going to stick to 3-1. I think West Ham will get the job done. They really will. I think the performance is one thing. Like, we need the result, don't get me wrong, but I think the performance is key. Like, if West Ham turn up and literally smash Southampton to bits, then I could see something happening in that week. If West Ham get away with a 1-0 win and grind out a 1-0 win, it's a good result, but it just doesn't really change anything.
Yeah.
It just looks like you've just grinded it out. Do you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I am going to go for a 3-1. I think.
I've just kind of stopped thinking about the fact that we have better players, because that's been true of a lot of games this season that we've gone into, where we've got a better 11 on the pitch than our opponents, but you just wouldn't know it. You know, we've just been so poor so often, and that's my worry. I just don't judge it on paper anymore, because we've just been really poor. And so, despite the fact, yes, we will have a better 11 on the pitch, I don't necessarily trust that it will be obvious, you know.
Yeah, listen, I actually agree, Tommy. Like, don't get me wrong. If the game was played on paper, then we would nowhere near be near the bottom. So I get what you're saying. It's just that I think this week coming up, to sort of round this up, is just massive. Like we started off and said this, and I will know more by next Saturday. Next Saturday at 5 o'clock, I'll know where West Ham are really at, because if we can get through the week and not lose a game, then I'll be happy. I think we can get out of trouble. I mean, I look at West Ham at the minute. For me personally, we're down there, but we can get out of this if we sort ourselves out, all come together. We can get out of this mess that we're in. It's just whether or not the manager's on board with that, the players are on board with that, and the fans, and that's the problem.
The worry is that the noises coming out of the training ground are not good, James. They're really not. I'm really worried. Like, I'm trying to be optimistic like you. I've gone for a 2-1 win. But what we're hearing, supposedly insider information from inside the club, is that there's an awful lot wrong.
But you know, who do you look at that? Who do you look at that? I know people will say Moyes, and I get that. I agree. Yeah. But do the players need to say to themselves, right, don't worry about him, worry about the club as a whole? Like, we have got a duty of care to represent West Ham United Football Club. We've got to perform for the fans. It's not so much Moyes. We've got to do it for the fans, the people who paid our wages, basically.
Yeah, well, I think there is an element to that. I think because whether it's for the fans or for the badge or any of that, I don't know. I don't know if that's where the players' heads are at. But I think just the fact that, like, these guys are professional footballers, right? Like, if you're a footballer who makes it to this is the top level of football, right? You're playing in the Premier League,
best league in the world.
And a lot of them are internationals. To get to that level, you have, one of the things you have to have is that mentality where you just hate losing. You have to have a certain amount of drive and desire and determination to win games. These players, you can be sure, do not like playing poorly and do not like losing games of football. So I think regardless of the situation, I think whenever they go out, and Sunday will be no different, I think they're going to put everything into it. They don't like losing. It's not a good feeling, you know, walking off the pitch at that level, at that kind of, when you're at that level of mentality, that you've made it that far in the game, you hate losing. And so I think these players hate losing. And so, you know, whatever is going on behind the scenes with Moyes and the coaches and whatever else, the system they're asked to play and the tactics, I still think when they get on the pitch and the whistle goes, they have that mentality, that competitive nature, that they're going to want to go out and try and beat this lot that they're playing against. You know, I don't think they're going to just not give a shit about losing the game. I think they're going to want to go out and they're going to want to win it. So I think we'll certainly see the players giving it everything. I think we'll really see the players going for it on Sunday and trying to win the game. Whether they're handicapped by their coaching and the training and the tactics and the setup, that won't help them, but they'll still try. There's no doubt about that.
I hope so, Tommy. That's one thing I do, because there is sometimes you do see it with certain clubs, and we have seen it in the past where people do down tools to a point. They go, you know what, like, we ain't going to do it because we know the manager's going to go. The problem is we don't.
You know, when you see that, when players at that level do that, you know they're completely defeated mentally.
Yeah, and that.
But
And
I don't know if our players are there yet. I don't think they're completely defeated mentally to the point where you just think, what's the point in even trying? You know, I haven't really seen that from the players, really. You know.
Mm. Yeah, I understand that. Don't get me wrong. I really do. I understand what you're saying there. I'll just look at it that whatever they think of the manager, like whatever I think, you think, or anyone else thinks of Moyes, yeah, they have to represent West Ham United, because the way I look at it is right is this: when I look at Moyes in 5 years' time will be a distant memory. Do you know what I'm saying? Like 5 years ago, people wouldn't even know who the manager was, like probably Pellegrini or something like that, right? So in 5 years' time, I look at it that Moyes will be a distant memory. But at present, we need to think about the current future, which is keeping West Ham in the league. Now, the only people who can do that are the players on the pitch, and they have to perform literally for the badge and for the shirt and represent West Ham in a way that every time that they're going for every sort of corner, cross, tackle, that they're committed. I watched the game 2 weeks ago, Nottingham Forest Everton, and that was two clubs who were fighting like literally each other to stay in this league. Like the game ended up in a 2-2 draw, granted, but that's what I need to see with West Ham. I don't need to see people getting the ump on the pitch. If it ain't going right, just get together. And obviously, Deck needs to perform in this game also. Like Declan Rice has to be a captain, be a leader, and say, right, get these boys up for the challenge, because this week, as I keep saying, is the one for me. Like, and after that, we have got conference games. We've got Arsenal. We've got Bournemouth coming up. It's a massive month, and basically, that's how it's got to be in the West Ham shirt, in my opinion. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
I'll tell you what, James. I think best fucking thing that could happen this week since the players got back is that Declan Rice calls them all in behind closed doors, meeting with the rest of the players, and say, look, if it's at the point where we believe it's at from the information that's coming out, is get in that room and for Declan Rice to say, look, forget fucking Moyes. We know how he's going to set us up tactically. Let's just fucking forget all that. Forget what he's telling us to do. Let's go out and have a fucking go at this lot. Let's get after them right from the first whistle. You know, let's play expansive football. Let's really get after this lot and try and score a couple of goals early on, first half, and put ourselves in the driving seat. And let's forget all this shit that he's talking out on the training.
One thing they've got to have, though, Tommy, one thing I will say that they've got to have is no fear. They've got to have no fear in this game. Like, they've got to play this game with no fear whatsoever. Like, one thing I will say about the Aston Villa game, the last game, is we went 1-0 down and we managed to get back to 1-0. We did miss a load of chances, granted, but have no fear. Do you know what I mean? If it ain't going right, and say it's 0-0 in the 60th minute, don't get nervous. Just keep plugging away. Because against Forest, we was 0-0 for a long time in that game. And we was the better team by a country mile in that game against Forest. And then eventually we scored one, bang, 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 and then it was game over. Do you know what I'm saying? So I just want the boys to go out there and fight for the claret and blue. Like forget Moyes, right? Because the way I look at it is Moyes is walking a tightrope as it is. And let's be honest, he's going to go eventually. Whenever it is, he's going to go. But their job is to keep West Ham in this league. And I believe in that week ahead, they can do that if they all stick together. If we come out of that week next week and say we've got 6 points, that's a good return out of 3 games, in my opinion, right? If we get more than 6, then that's even better. And we can start looking up the league rather than down it. And that's the way I look at it, really. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
well, look, fingers crossed, you know, that I think if we can get the win on Sunday, like I say, it takes a lot of pressure off the Newcastle game.
Yeah.
Where you can go into that game saying, yeah, look, we obviously want to go and try and win it. But if it turns out we end up with a point, it's not the end of the world because we beat Southampton, and then we can go away to Fulham, easier game than the Newcastle one, and have a go at Fulham, see if we can pick up another 3 there. It just eases the pressure. But if we fail to beat Southampton, whether it's a draw or especially a loss, I mean, the amount of pressure that gets ramped up on the players is going to be just immense.
Yeah, and I actually agree, mate. I really do. Tommy, thank you very much for coming on, mate. I really do appreciate it, as always, doing the previews with me. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Please do smash a like on the video and please do subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. I will be on a West Ham network tonight at 9 o'clock. It's going to be a heated one. I'm going to be up against Jazz, JP, WHUTV, and Sean Whetstone. And we're going to talk about all things West Ham, which is going to be fun. Trust me, I'm looking forward. It's going to be spicy, I must admit. Anything about GSP, trust me, I'm ready to unleash. So yeah, but I've got to be careful because it ain't my platform. So yeah, please go over and check it out. Also, it's for a good cause, by the way. It's for like the Iron supporting like food banks and all that. The lads over there are doing their thing. They're helping a lot of people in the area, in the local area. And trust
I'll
me,
be on as well. Yeah, I'll be on at 10 o'clock as well. So
yeah, Tommy will be on at 10 and I'll be doing my thing at 9. Listen, if you can donate £1, if you can donate 50p, whatever you can donate it. It goes a long way. It really helps out all the people who are really struggling to even feed their kids at the minute. So, do you know what I'm saying? So please go over and do that tonight, 9 o'clock on West Ham Network. And I will be back Sunday. Busy day ahead, right? Southampton game, after thought, player ratings, you name it, we're on it over here on Sunday. And let's just hope, for crying out loud, that we can get a win. Because if we don't, then it's going to be looking more doom and gloom. And do you know what? We don't want to see that at West Ham. It's one thing we don't, especially with the week ahead. Anyway, from me to you, have a good Friday. I'll see you again next one. Peace.
There it is. I've never found a love like this.